Hi, everybody. Thanks for coming and joining and hanging out with me. For those of you who are new to me, and thanks for coming back to those who have been hanging with me for a while. So, today we're going to do a subject that I'm really excited about and have been wanting to do, but I know everybody likes, talking about the spirit world and talking about spirits and things like this, and that's more a lot of the times where people have a lot of questions about. But I have gotten a lot of questions about the future and and time and how I see time and the future, but more importantly, like dimensions and portals and things. And this is kind of one of my favorite subjects too. As you can see, well, I'm going to show you. I'm wearing Star Wars, and at the bottom it says I know, and I'm having Star Wars cup. Yeah, so let's just go and use this as a conduit to the theme today. So what I'm going to be sharing with you is how I see time in the future. Okay, what I mean by how I see time in the future is when I'm doing intuitive readings, and for me intuitive readings is looking at the person's path and being able to go down your path and see that time zone. If you get a chance, go and check out my remote viewing video after this video, and you'll see how they'll connect. And honestly, even the spirit world and the things I talk about the spirit world does connect to this theme. So the subject matter, and I'm going to explain how, because everything I've learned from the spirit realm. They're the ones who taught me how to remote view and how to see time. So remote viewing, just a little tiny recap for those of you who haven't, and let's just go to a far galaxy and get coffee so my voice doesn't irritate you guys. Okay, and so I can have my beloved coffee. Okay, so so with remote viewing, it is a way to see the future, present, and past. And because there is no time in that realm, in the other realm, in the spiritual realm, which is similar to all other realms, but this one that I have been aware of. Obviously, I don't know this for sure. I'm sure there can be all other types of dimensions and worlds and things that have a very similar way we deal with time. Sorry, clearing my throat. Clearing my throat for this one, guys. Okay, so more coffee. So I see it as like a sphere, right? First of all, I see time as a sphere that goes around, constantly moving, an energy sphere. It's the same way I'm able to kind of jump into somebody's skin, not literally, but jump into your sphere. I used to say jump into your skin for a long time, and I started to realize like people were like, jump into my skin, first of all, and second of all, just didn't quite do it. And as my sight changes, because your sight does evolve and change, I started realizing it was a sphere of energy, and I was jumping into the sphere of energy and circling around the person and seeing. So the way I see the future is that there's multiple timelines. So that's how I see it. And I know this is very connected to quantum physics, quantum energy, and that, that's a whole other subject. I'm not going to pretend to be such a smarty pants to be able to explain to you quantum. I only can tell you how I experience what I'm experiencing. I have a lot of respect for scientists and physics and all this type of stuff, and I wouldn't dare step out of my lane to try to like explain to you that world. I suggest go over to those people to explain it to you. I can only explain to you how I've experienced it, and this is kind of why I have an interest in these subject matters, because it made the most sense. When I started reading 16 years ago and I tried to explain this to people didn't understand it. When I was trying to say, oh, there's like multiple timelines, and actually I think it took me a couple of years to actually even figure out, oh, so the time shifts, the time changes according to the decisions people make. So when I'm reading someone, I do see it that way. I see it as that there's all these different choices we have. It's almost like a fan that fans out, and all these different timelines and timelines are going. And what I do is jump and see at the timeline that you're at that current time. And so what I do is I see, okay, if you make this decision A, B, C, this is the result. However, I can see if you make this decision A, B, C, there's a different result. So in other words, every decision we make is like a domino effect, and it goes and it affects the future. For me, I really see this so much to the point where when I don't listen to the something I see coming up, when I don't listen to go to myself and go, listen, I know when that domino hits that other domino, this is the effect, and I ignore it and I hit that other domino anyway, I get really upset. So for instance, I'll get a vision and a feeling and a knowing, okay, I should like leave at this certain time, or I shouldn't make this call, or I should do this or should do that, and I ignore it. And when I ignore it, I kind of knew that result was probably going to happen because that's what I saw, and then that result happens and I get upset. Most people have a reaction of, okay, so I didn't listen to that inner voice, and I didn't leave at that current time, or I didn't say no to that person. All right, so it didn't work out, big deal. But I get upset because I'm like, I knew, I saw the outcome, I saw that timeline, and I didn't. Now, I'm not saying you can see every single nook and cranny, because obviously we're here to experience life. We're here to experience the world. But I will say that for people to kind of, in my videos, I like to always talk to you guys straight and kind of make it really simple. And I think when people are trying to make it like, oh, I'm just seeing into this mystical realm and you have no way of understanding, it just doesn't make sense to me. I don't feel like that makes sense, is necessary. So if you kind of look at it like technology is helping us jump time, if you look at it that way. So for instance, I'm putting this video, I'm throwing it out there. You guys are gonna be able to see it in your time that you choose, right? So there was a time, think about it. If you go back into a time like with TV, let's just look at it this way. And when TV was first invented, everybody had to like gather around the TV. And actually, not even when it was first invented, for a good time, it was this way. A show aired at a certain time and everyone gathered around to watch it. And if you weren't there at that time, you missed it. And there wasn't a way to jump time. There wasn't a way to say, well, it is already in existence and I'm just going to log into it and see it when I feel like it. Now we're starting to understand we can download something, we can watch something when we choose. We are not so stuck in this kind of more slower pace, or stuck in like only this consciousness, if you want to compare it to that. And if you look at kind of in when you go back in the past and you see how life was, a lot of things were like that. It was like you wake up and you do this and you follow things in this kind of way, because we didn't have a lot of options to jump ahead or jump back. Now we're having, like, if you think of it this way, we have rebooting TV shows and things like this. Why? Because it never occurred to us in the past that people would be able to even know these shows existed. But because of the internet, you have a whole new audience that's like, oh, I'm 18 and I wasn't around when the Brady Bunch was on, but now I know about it because of the internet. So I've been able to jump into time and back into time, but really jump back into time. And reruns did that for television, That's true, but that was like kind of the beginning of it, right? Where it's like, well, how did you know that? Well, I saw it. I've seen that show and it's airing. So the same with it's the same like what's happening on the internet. If you look at the movie Back to the Future, and they're all gathering around watching the TV show Honeymooners, and he starts laughing and saying, I already see this. Or like, how is that possible? Because in their mind, it would be impossible to see something that hasn't even aired yet, because they didn't understand reruns. They didn't understand that something could replay. And that is pretty much Ooh, kind of. I know it's a little more complicated than that. I'm sure your mind's going, what? But it is, if you kind of take that basic core concept, that's how I see time. So, meaning that there's all these possible timelines and it's already playing in some other area. And I'm just trying to jump to that time and try to see what got that person to that time. And that is how I see time. So I can get exact timelines and dates, and I have done that many, many times, but I am doing it with remote viewing. And remote viewing just means I'm sitting right here, and like I said, watch the video I did on remote viewing, and I'm able to see. Now, the question that boggles people's mind when it comes to mysticism and psychics and things like this is the idea of, did I wish this into the future, meaning like I thought about it so much and then it happened? Did I make it happen, or was I looking through time? I don't really feel that there is preordained destiny, so I should have started with that. There isn't preordained destiny. I don't believe in myself. That's how I see things. Interesting enough, when I used to tell people I don't believe in preordained destiny, when I first started reading, people thought it was really strange. They didn't understand it at all. And now people, when I say that, they're like, yeah, okay. They completely understand it. It's just amazing to see how we are growing to our understanding over the years. But yes, so I don't believe that there's just some kind of blueprint that we're just playing out, and I don't believe that. I believe everything we're doing is affecting the future. And so if you look at it that way, you can look at your own life and say, okay, listen, I'm about to make this decision. I'm going to try and use my intuition and my own sight and my own gut and kind of jump down and see what that looks like. So for instance, think about when you were like 5, because this is kind of the age I believe we really know who we are. And if you think about yourself at the age 5, you kind of know who you are, and you almost kind of have a sight of what you feel your life is going to be like. Like you almost kind of have a, you know what, I kind of see myself in this house. I kind of see myself in this life. It's almost like a knowing, and you kind of have a vision of that. And that's because I feel that there's a part of you that's seeing a future part of you. I do believe this. Okay. When we're little, we're much more tuned into it. We're much more accepting. Kids they believe in the unbelievable and in the impossible. What we as adults think is impossible, but when you're a child, it doesn't seem that so, weird to the idea that maybe you're able to kind of see your own adult self. And I do believe that we all have that. So if you want to know where to start, where you want to start about seeing, future for yourself, don't try to do this for other people. Honestly, I'm not trying to be rude, but you really shouldn't do this for other people, because it's irresponsible unless you are very, very trained at this and you've been doing this for a long time and you've honed this and you've mastered this. Then you're being irresponsible by going, I'm going to tell you what I see. If you get premonition and dreams and things, I understand, because I may get comments about that, but that's different. But if you're like, oh, I'm going to try and practice this on someone, you could be misleading, misguiding. And even if that person says, I don't believe you, I think you're full of crap and blah, 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 it gets in their head. It gets in their head and starts affecting them. So do it for yourself. And you can do this for yourself if you want to start trying to practice this. So start when kind of see yourself when you were like 5 and kind of see like, what did I see? You got to kind of start with this knowing of who you are, remembering who you are, and trying to remember the core of yourself, and then start there. And then you say to yourself, okay, how did I see my life going? What did I see my life? How did I see myself? And you start kind of tuning in and seeing, where your path led you. And then you can come to this current time. Now, the thing about time is that there isn't existent in the other realm, but we definitely can't conceive it. So we do only hold on to time in this realm. So in other words, it's hard for us to believe that there is no time in this realm, and that's okay. But if you kind of have one foot out, meaning like you're like, okay, I know in this realm time goes and I have to be in an appointment and I have to go somewhere. You can't just say there is no time. But if you're trying to look into your own path, then you it's more tuning into this other dimension, meaning that a sequence of events is coming forth and it's coming towards you. And it hasn't happened yet, but you can see almost like the movie reel playing out, and you could see, okay, this is kind of where I see this step leading to this step leading to this step. Kind of think of it again as this a domino effect. The only time that it's hard for me to see time for someone is when I can tell that certain events are already active, meaning like someone has already put something into activity and it's already taking that sequence, and I can't stop that, meaning like I can't say to the person, oh no, you can just say do this or do that and change the whole course of time. What I can say to the person is, listen, this is already happening, so, and this is what's going to happen, the result of it, then this is what you can do once that result happens to get to this next result. So it is being very conscious. It isn't like in the movies or something where you're just going to be like, oh, I'm just going to meditate and tune in. No, it is exercising and honing and exercising yourself to open up to the idea, okay, I'm going to wake up today, something tells me, to do this at this time. Maybe you should leave this home, or I should go here, or I should call this person right now. And that is actually coinciding with the concept of intuition. So again, you can watch the video on raising vibrations that I have on here, because I truly can't stress enough how all these things actually interconnect. How did the spirit world show me? How they showed me this is because there's no time there. And so when people are asking, like, how do spirits, do they see me? Do they know what's going on? Of course, because they're seeing past, present, and future all at the same time. It's the sphere that is going around and around and around. I don't see time as linear. I know I said I saw the fan. It's just trying to give you an understanding of how it's just a visual for me of how to manage and understand which direction to help people, if that makes sense. It's my visual, and you may get a different visual, but I actually see time as an energy and future as an energy that's sphering around. That is why sometimes when you have a crossroad and you miss that crossroad and you make a decision, you're like, I made that decision, I wonder if it's over. Crossroads are when you're standing at a crossroad and you're about to make a decision that's going to either affect your life in a giant way, or it's going to affect your life in maybe in a small way, but either way it's affecting your life. That's about to change this sequence. It's almost like a bigger click in your path that kind of shoots you into a different direction. And sometimes a lot of times people have these crossroads that I see, and sometimes when you go, screw it, I don't want to deal with that crossroad, and you just ignore it, the universe does find a way that crossroad comes back into your life in a different way. So what I would say is that when you're looking into the idea of the future, don't look at it as prediction. Look at it more as that you're tapping into this energy that is in this other realm that does exist within this realm. But we're trying to deal with the mundane world on a constant basis, so that's sometimes what makes it hard. Because sometimes our bodies are tired, our minds are tired, our spirit is even tired, and we're like, I know I should do this, and it would bring the sequence of events into another space, but I don't know, I'm just tired. I just want to sit here and see what happens. And I understand that, and that's part of the challenge of being in this human existence. Part of the challenge of being this human existence is the idea that we can do these things I'm talking about, but we're kind of trapped in this physical realm. So I would say like this, when you're thinking of time, you're thinking of the future, like I said, where to start, which people ask me a lot, start when you think of yourself as 5 and go back into that energy. And what did you see yourself? You have a knowing. That's part of seeing the future. When I'm doing it for other people, I'm jumping into your sphere to see how you saw it. And then I go from there and go, okay, this is why I can see that you've made these decisions in your life. But let me take you back to at this age where you really kind of knew who you were and you did know the direction you want to go. I try to get people into remembering that. And then I kind of speed it up and say, and you can still have that. So now let's look at where we need to go from here. So I'm going to leave you with this. Imagine it. This is how I always see it. That there's like, sorry about this. Sorry, guys. I guess I'm like excited about this subject. Kind of imagine it like you're in a forest and there's a road. And the way I see myself is that you're walking down this path and you're walking down this road, and I meet you, and you like went on this journey, you went on hikes and you looked at waterfalls and stuff. And sometimes people, I see it as they set up camp, and they set up camp and they got comfy and they got cozy, and they just didn't really, they were setting on an intention to go down the rest of this path and explore it and see where it's taking them and making decisions along the way. Do I want to smell the flowers? Do I want to do this? Do I want to do that? But you set up camp and you got comfortable. And sometimes I see that to people. I'm like, you got comfortable or you got tired and you stopped. And what I try to do as guiding is like, hey, let me show you how you can pack things up, how you can still go on this journey, how it won't be as difficult as you think, that vision you saw of going down that path is that way. And if you keep going down that way, what you believed you would find, you will. But here's are some tools, here's some insight, here's a compass, here's an awareness, here's a map. Here's some clearer glasses, whatnot, to help you see it a little clearer. And here's a confirmation. You're right, I've been down there, and a lot of these things do exist. I've been able to jump down there and see, and I'm coming back to try to help guide you. You can do this for yourself too if you remember that part of you that started on this path. So I hope that wasn't too crazy and too confusing. I'm sure I'm going to have lots of comments, and this is one of those things that I'm sure I'm going to have to branch off and do other videos that are going to be questions from this video. And I know that's why I feel like it's always breaking down. Thank you guys for joining me. You can follow me here on Adela Levine. Please comment, subscribe. It really helps. You can actually hear me on the Witch in the Medium podcast that I help co-host on any podcast platform, and take a listen to us and how we discuss things from different perspectives. And you can follow me, I think I said Adela Levine on Instagram, did I? If I didn't, and you can catch my website, adelalevine.com. And thank you guys so much. Follow yourself, follow that inner compass, tap back into that knowing of who you are, and I'll see you soon.